So this is Baruch Fleischman, and for all of those of you who are interested in Jewish astrology and want to learn some more, I suggest, if nothing else, buy this book. You can follow along with me, and we could develop ideas. If you have any questions, like I'd really try to learn as much as I can, and I learned a lot from questions that other people have. Let's go over here and let's see where we're at right now in this great book by Yaakov Kronenberg. So he got to a place now. What we were been talking about in the last few are the concepts of the first house. And let me just get this little drawing over here again. The first house, counting counterclockwise to the 10th house, counting counterclockwise to the 7th house, each with the number 10. So apparently the number 10 is really important in understanding the universe. I'm not sure why, but we know that it's the basic building block of numbers. So all of that movement. Then we had another way of looking at it, which is clockwise, which was starting in the first house and going around to the 4th house, to the fourth house going around to the 7th house, to the 7th house going around to the 10th house, and trying to understand that in a spiritual way. Now let's see some more of these ideas. Some of these ideas are really nice. I really love this book. And let's see what chapter 1 says. Time and space are key components to our existence, and these form the two major axes of astrology. You have the space axis, which is between the 1st and the 7th house, and the time axis, which is between the 4th and the 10th house. Now, I believe him, but I don't see how this ties up. Let's see, he says each house is connected to the house opposite. So he says like this time and space axis. For example, the first house is connected to the 7th, the 4th is connected to the 10th, and they always interact with each other. So he said, for example, the first house is always becoming the 2nd house, and the 7th house, and the 7th house is always becoming the 1st house. So they're moving towards each other, like the drawing we had of the fingers. The fingers are coming close to each other. They're always being interchanging energies. For example, so if a person is influenced by other people, then other people are influenced by him. He influences his wife, and his wife influences him. In other words, they both influence and change each other. Because if you look at the charts, you see that they are both masculine houses. Which one are we talking about? The first house. Let's say, for example, in a chart in this chart. So this chart, the first house is Leo. His 7th house is going to be Aquarius. Aquarius is the opposite of Leo. So understand it's the right hand and the left hand. But both of them are masculine. So the way the chart could be read is like this, going around the chart this way or either way. He says that you go masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, all the way along the line. Each other one is going to be feminine. So you see that when houses are next to each other, for example, Leo is next to Virgo. Well, Virgo is a feminine sign and Leo is a masculine sign, and the two of them really don't go together easily because they're opposites or contrasting. So let's go on a little bit more. If you take the chart of Adam, where are we now? He said, okay, both influence each other. Because if you look at their charts, you see that they're both masculine houses. If you take the chart of Adam and Eve, the first house was Adam and the 7th house is Eve. So you have Eve is Libra. Libra, which is the time of year in the Jewish world of Tishrei, which is the time of judgment, so on and so forth, of balance. So she has Libra. Libra, that is Eve, has Libra. Libra is under the influence of the planet Venus. Now, this is a whole Inyan that one has to learn, is that each planet has behind it an energy source. That energy source in this case is the concept or the planet of Venus. And it's a good and attractive sign, but it's masculine. So you see that the 7th house has a feminine ascendant, then you would always react to the masculine first house of Adam. So let me read this again. She has Libra, that is Eve has Libra. Libra is under the influence of the planet Venus, and it is a good and attractive sign. Well, that's the nature of Venus. Venus is the planet of beauty. But it is but it's masculine. That is, Libra is masculine. So you see that if the seventh house had a feminine ascendant, then she would always react to the masculine first house of Adam, because the opposites, what they attract. But since they are both masculine, so you have both Adam and Eve have masculine signs, each one has its own control over their own life. In other words, they're not joined to each other so strongly, but they're independent. And really neither one can change the other. Masculine signs are less influenced by other people than the feminine signs. Feminine signs are more influenced by their environment, while masculine signs are less so. Now he's telling you a lot of rules over here that one needs to know to interpret their birth chart. So you see that each one has their own agenda, so to speak, and they have to somehow come to a balance with each other. The one is never going to get the other one to totally follow their own way, and they always have to work out something balanced. But they always go through change, and this is the interaction between the first and the seventh house, which constantly influence each other. So let me read this again. The one is never going to get the other one to totally follow their way, because it's not giver and receiver here, it's giver and giver. So therefore you have these opposites, and whatever that is, if you're say for example, your ascendant is Cancer. Cancer is a female sign. So if you take the female sign, what's the opposite of that? It's going to be Capricorn, is another female sign. So these two different opposites are going to be, whatever they're doing, they're independent of each other, because they're not naturally joined together, even though that's the way that God made it. It's hard to hear. The one is never going to get the other to totally follow their own way, and they always have to work out something balanced. But they always go through change, and this is the interaction between the first house and the seventh house, which constantly influence each other. This is what is called the space axis. It is you and the other. Now, he's making a definition here. The space axis is what is opposites. Two opposites which are the same, either masculine or feminine. It is that you and the other. That is, the time axis, though, is between the fourth house and the 10th house. Now, where the fourth house is the past, where you came from, that's your home, the home you came from. And it is also the genetic material you come from, and it is the house of parents that give birth to the first house. So in other words, that's the fourth house. The fourth house is always the home, place where you come from, which is 10 houses away. So the fourth house is the past. So what's the 10th house? And the 10th house is the future. Where are you going? Where are you heading to? How you construct your life? And these two houses are always interchanging with each other. The past causes the future. What you did in the past causes your future. And what you do in the future can, in a certain way, change your past. If a major thing happens to you and you scrape through, and later in life, in the future, when you look at the past, you sometimes realize that things that seemed to be bad were retrospectively proven to be good. So you change your perspective on the past. That's a very interesting idea. Let's just read that again. And what you do in the future can, in a certain way, change your past. So the question is how could the future change your past? So let me see if get this back up where you can see it. If a major thing happens to you, and you scrape through, and then later on in life, in the future, when you look at the past, you sometimes realize that things seemed to be bad. Those things were bad something bad happened to you, something that you really hurt you, were retrospectively, now that you're into the 10th house, proven to be good. It actually was a good thing, because it changed you from where you were going into something else, perhaps. So he says, so you change your perspective on the past. So the future can change the past. So by looking at what will happen to you in the future, you always look at what happened to you in the past and see that it was good. So the past is always becoming the future, and the future is always becoming the past. In other words, it is reflecting on the past. And from the position of your future, you'll be able to see what exactly it was that got you into this position, because once the future happens, it turns into the past. What happened in the past is going to be influenced in the future. So there is always an interchange between the past and the future, And he has said previously that this refers to time and space. I don't get exactly what time and space has to do with this, but we'll read on. This is really fascinating. This is Baruch Fleischman.